Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. Today, we have a very special guest for our show today, but joining us, Vincent Turner, as always, our co-host and founder of 100 Yards of Football. I'm Harper LaBelle. Joey Clinkscales is going to be our special guest. We're going to talk about UT football, and we're also going to talk about all things National Football League and even beyond. But before we do that, I would like to make mention of a worthwhile organization. You know, you see it all the time. It's in every city in the country. There are people that are trying to help the homeless. And one thing here in the Atlanta area is Faith with Works by Janine. And Faith with Works is an organization that will take donations from you and 100% give them to the local community. It's not just a money thing, guys. You know that there are special needs that people have that have either lost their home or haven't had one for a while. Towels, baby wipes to get clean, toothpaste, shampoo, simple necessities, water that's clean and that you can either bathe with or that you can drink, some of the things that we take for granted. Faith with Works is trying to help the community. They have a rally that's going to be taking place for donations to be received and for getting the word out. That'll be on September 19th. It's a Friday at 9 o'clock at 91 Peachtree Street, which is really the Woodruff Park area, just west of Grady Hospital, just northwest of where Georgia State University is at Woodruff Park. You can drop off your donations. You can drop off some gifts and supplies. A gift card, for example, greatly appreciated, and it goes directly to the community. So you'll be helping in a way that affects people and their lives in ways that some other charities aren't able to do. So the next time that you give, please consider doing that with Faith with Works. I appreciate that, and so do the folks that are assisting. Well, Vincent, every once in a while we get a very special and unique guest. We certainly have that today. No different from any other, but a volunteer, guys. So a lot of your Georgia fans are already going to go, well, I don't want to tune into that, but this is going to be well worth it because here's a man that has played at the highest level in the high school area, collegiately, in the professional ranks, and then he moved over to be a part of the front office and has a over 25-year career with that. Vincent, we're blessed to have Joey with us today.
Well, when you look at what's happening today, it's a great blessing for me because I get a lot of flack down here in the metro Atlanta area, and I hear about all these great high school football players from the state of Georgia, the state of California. But I'm from a state only 6 million people, but I want to tell you something. We got some special players too. And I think about my lifetime living in West Tennessee on the Memphis side down in the 901. Then I think about all the way up to Knoxville, the 615, the 865. But make no special moment today. We got one of the greatest high school football players that ever played in the state of Tennessee, baby. Reggie White, Raymond Buggs, Al Wilson, Barry Wilburn, Dante Hightower, Todd Collins, James Little Man Stewart, Charles Greenhill, Leroy Thompson, Keith Davis, Steve Spurrier. That's right, he's from Tennessee, baby, the ball coach. But this gentleman here, when he came out of high school, Austin East, the most prominent high school in Knoxville, Tennessee. My man, Mr. Joey Clinkscales, was highly recruited. I was just coming out of the University of Arkansas, had just graduated. But that 82 year when Tennessee had their recruiting class and they got him as a star quarterback and he went to Austin East under Sam Anderson, we got one of the greatest football players in the state of Tennessee today, baby. We only 6 million people, but this gentleman right here is one of the historic players out of the state of Tennessee. And I'm excited and I'm ready to talk about UT football today, baby. Not no Georgia, not no UCLA, not no SC. We had Anthony Davis on yesterday. Now we're going to talk about them balls in the early 80s. Back to you, Harper.
Well, Joey, you were born on May 21st, 1964. There's a lot of introductions I'm sure you've had in your life. That one's a little bit one of the more unique ones, isn't it?
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Vincent. Yeah, it was great. It was great. I appreciate that.
Well, yes, tell us a little bit about, the history with football, but did you play baseball, run track? Were you a basketball guy? You could do a little bit of everything, right?
Let's go back. Yeah, so I played I did not play baseball. It's a long story on why I didn't play baseball. I played Little League baseball.
Is it called a curveball and not being able to hit it?
No, I wasn't a bad hitter. I pitched a little, but I played in outfield, and one day I was this is Little League baseball. Fly ball came, and I'm in center field trying to catch the ball. Another kid came by. He was going to catch it. He didn't catch it. Hit me in the mouth. Split my tongue down the middle.
Oh boy.
That's the last day I played baseball.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it. But yeah, I grew up. I ran track. I was a sprinter and a jumper. And I hadn't checked, but I still may hold the school record in the high jump at 6'9". That was, again, 1981, 1982, long time ago.
Did you Fosbury flop, or did you do it the old-fashioned way?
No, I did a Fosbury flop.
Okay.
I did that. Sprint. My track team at Austin East, we won the state championship in 1981. Basketball play, I was starting guard on the basketball team. That stadium right there has my name on the scoreboard somewhere. That's a whole nother story. But and obviously I played football. So yeah, I had a pretty good career. And on completion of it, back then they didn't have the Gatorade Circle of Champion. You had the best high school player in the state. Back then it was called the Hertz #1 Award. So I won the Hertz #1 Award as the top athlete in the state of Tennessee back in 1982.
When did you know that you had the talent level and the skill to be able to do this and not only play well at the high school level, but maybe entertain the idea of going beyond and getting a chance to play on Saturdays?
I don't know if you ever know growing up, because you do it for the love of the game. Back then there was no computer, there was no iPad, there was no video game. So you got outside and you played with your friends, and you just have a great time playing. And you were always doing something. It wasn't a one sport deal. You ran track. I ran AAU track, played AAU basketball, all this in the off season. So there was always something going on. There was never a time where you're just sitting at home and not doing anything.
Kids our age, Joey, would remember that we did have a remote control. It was when Dad or Mom said, "Go turn the channel."
That's
and
right.
You had to get up from where you were sitting next to the couch. Right?
We were the remote. That's exactly right.
Yes. Yeah. Now, did you play until the streetlights went on, or did you get a little extra lead time? Because, sometimes it was the championship game. Every night was a new World Series or Stanley Cup or Super Bowl moment, and you were in double overtime. And Mom was calling for dinner, and you got to get this game won before you break off and go have some food.
Well, that called for some forward thinking. And
yeah.
In Mom's eyes, if the street light came on and you weren't home, you were in trouble.
That's right. You're not getting dinner.
There was no gray area.
Yeah. And obviously, football became a part of you. When did you start playing? And was it a quarterback from the very beginning? Your arm strength and everything else, was that something that you did from the very early days?
I did, because I did not play Little League football. I started playing football in junior high school. Back then, it was junior high school. So in junior high school, I started playing quarterback then.
Okay.
And I played that till I got to high school. And in high school, you did a little bit of everything. But I started my first game in high school at safety and running back. And then the fifth game, I took over at quarterback of my first year in high school and played quarterback from that point on.
Was this a veer or a triple option type offense?
It was a veer.
Yeah.
It was a veer. A veer. Absolutely. My first coach was Emmett Yett, but Sam Anderson was on the staff. And then when Coach Yett retired, Coach Anderson took over. So we had some really, really good coaches.
Emmett Yett, you said? Was that his name?
Yes.
Now, was he
his son is actually an NFL referee.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Was Emmett the one that would kind of, all right, now you're going to take the center snap and you're going to pivot to your left.
That's him.
And then you've got to read that end, that where you had to literally learn the footwork, the cadence, the precision of the play. And you got to think while you're doing all this at full speed, but yet being able to assimilate all of your responsibility. You either give it to him or you keep it, and then you make the pitch or you keep it, right? Was all of that what he would have to teach you?
Absolutely. That was part of the veer, where you had you read the end man on the line, you read the outside linebacker or the end man on the line, and
Right.
Whether it was you're pivoting or you're rolling out with a pivot, you're turning around and pivot. It was the end man on the line, whether you determine, especially if you're running the option part of it, whether you're keeping the ball or pitching the ball. Yes.
Yeah. Now imagine you said you were a sprinter, so your speed. There are times where you probably whispered to yourself, if you keep this and get around that one guy, you're going to get the first down and maybe a lot more.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I was a sprinter and ran the 100, 200, obviously the relays, and a long jumper, a high jumper. I punted. I kicked the extra point, so I did a lot.
Yeah. Did you have to change shoes? Did you do a
I did,
toe kick
in the square shoe. Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
We're definitely aging ourselves today.
Well, that's what everybody did back in those days. It was a square toe. And do kickoffs, right? Did you do kickoff and kickoff return?
Yes, I did all that. Yes.
So, Joey, I imagine there's really never a time where you were not on the field.
That's correct.
Yeah,
I was on the field all the time. I didn't play back then. Once I started playing quarterback, I didn't play defense anymore. So that was the only time. But outside of that, I was on the field all the time.
Okay, wow. Did you like playing safety?
I did. I tried to be a ball hawk because obviously playing quarterback, you kind of learn from a defensive perspective what teams like to do. So that helped me. Yeah, and I had really good hands.
Well, people that I know that have been on both sides of the ball from a high school or even a collegiate level, maybe at practice, where you had Ron Yuri on last week, and Ron, a Hall of Famer, obviously in the National Football League and in college. He played defense when he first got to SC, and then they switched him over because of a need. There was a year that a couple guys graduated, and we got to get another body. We need somebody. So his defensive aggressiveness helped him understand how to block better, because he said, well, this would work on me. I'm going to try this on somebody else. I would imagine your understanding of the secondary and what those guys do was a great impact for you to realize, okay, I know what they're doing, so now I know where my offensive receivers are going to be, and I can find these gaps in the holes, and you take advantage of the skill set.
Yes, you're breaking up a little bit, but I think I understood what you said. But playing defense, starting out playing defense really helped my performance on offense.
Okay, fantastic. Vincent, I know you got 100 questions about the high school days, Austin East. Go ahead, please.
Well, I moved to that part of the state. I had graduated from school, and I moved to Knoxville in 1985. But I'm a big-time Tennessee football fan, and I want Mr. Joy to tell the world out there the love and the community of Austin East and all the great players that came out of that high school. When you look at that high school, and the one thing I looked at, Harper, is how the community was involved and how everybody walked around the surrounding areas of Knoxville. And when it came to football, it was AE, Austin East. And then just all the great history of that high school. I didn't even know this. The great Paul Hogue went to that high school. You don't remember him? Teammates with Oscar Robertson on that Cincinnati Bearcats national championship team. Of course, Elston Turner, that went to Ole Miss, knew about him. Then, of course, Joe Fishback, Super Bowl champion with the Dallas Cowboys. Jared Hyatt, one of the greatest basketball players in the state of Tennessee. That was in the backcourt with Mr. Joey. And then, of course, the great Leroy Thompson. So, Mr. Joy, I want you to tell people out there so much love in that community of Knoxville and how they loved Austin East High School and what was it like playing at that school.
Well, East Knoxville is unique from the standpoint, it's a predominantly Black African-American community, and they were behind us, whatever we did. I mean, we had fan support wherever we went. The community followed us. If we played a basketball game in West Tennessee, which we often did, or in Chattanooga, we always had great fan support. I mean, the people followed us everywhere. it was amazing. And obviously before me there was Elston Turner and others who really put Austin East on the map. Reggie and Raleigh McKenzie were a year ahead of me. Leroy Thompson was a few years behind me. Joey Fishback was a few years behind me. So we've always had really good football players, really good basketball players, and really good athletes in general to come out of East Knoxville. But more importantly, we always had the support of the community. Always. If we're winning games, if we're losing games, we had the support of the community. They followed us everywhere.
Joey, talk about the significance of that. When you're a 6, 7, 8-year-old kid and you're playing Pop Warner, now you didn't play that specifically, but you see kids that are, or maybe in junior high, well, I'm going to the game tonight, Mom. What do you think I'm going to do? Right. And you get to see all your friends. It's a social event where you get to be around kids your age, but you're all focusing on what the high school kids are doing and the vision that helps to plant the seeds that grow from that, to where when you finally get to high school, you realize, hey, it's come full circle. I remember what it was like when I was just a little weezer, and I'm coming to these games. And now I see a bunch of little kids that are standing around by the fence over there in the corner of the end zone. Was there an impact like that for you?
Oh, absolutely. We used to, at some point, I went to watch Austin East play when I was in junior high school, because I lived in the community. Although I didn't go to the junior high school in the community, I went to what used to be Tyson Junior High School, which was right off the campus of the University of Tennessee. Okay. But we used to go and we would watch Austin East play. We watch Knoxville College used to play at Austin East Stadium, so we used to watch Knoxville College play. So those guys. So you always hoped in your mind that I want to be able to play in high school, and I want to play college football. I want to play at Knoxville College. I want to play here. I want to play there. And you at that point, you really don't know what it takes to the hard work that needs to be put in to get to that level. But all you know is you see these guys and they're running the ball and they're catching the ball, and you idolize those guys. You want to be like those guys.
Well, tell me what it was like your probably junior or senior year. You're going against your rivals. You got the big game. The bands are playing. Stands are just packed to the gills. And there's probably a couple of really great wins, but a couple of losses there. Talk a little bit about your experience there from a playing standpoint and how cool it was when that opening kickoff takes place. Referee blows the whistle. The bands are playing and you're on the field.
It was a great feeling. I mean, because I was a kick returner. So, there are a few times I ran it back for a touchdown. So that was always great.
Yeah.
But we had a couple big rivals, especially in the playoffs. Oak Ridge was always a big rival. So let's back up a little bit. So we were a school which had enrollment of we were AAA. So at that time they had single, double AAA. They didn't have the 5As and all this. So and we always played in the AAA division. Okay. When I was there. Now they went down to the AA at some point, but we played in the AAA division. So our enrollment was just at 500 or a little less, maybe 4 or something. That was the enrollment. So the schools we played usually, especially when we played Oak Ridge, usually tripled us in enrollment. They had 1,500 students. But we always played in the upper division. The enrollment did not stop what we felt like was athletically superior team, which is what we always thought we were. But we lost to Oak Ridge a couple times in the playoffs when we got there. But they were a rival. They were a rival for us. Maybe we weren't a rival for them at that point because they were winning. But Rural High School, which was the other predominantly Black school in Knoxville, there was always a rival with Austin Eastern and Rural High School. And then there was Fulton High School, South Young at some point, Farragut, obviously. So Bearden High School. So we always had rivals because we were the predominantly Black school. And when people came, especially during basketball, when people came in playing, and we were always really good. And in the sports arena.
Which one do you still say, you know what, if I meet somebody from Oak Ridge or one of the other high schools, I want to punch them right in the nose? I know you don't do that, but I'm just saying,
right.
Which one still hurts that you go, man, I can't believe we lost to those cats?
Oak Ridge in the playoffs. Yeah, that's always going to hurt because they stopped us from getting to our goal, which is to win the state championship or get to the state championship. So we never got out of the first round when I was there playing Oak Ridge. Now, a couple of years later, we win the state championship. But when I was there, we never got out of the first round because of
bitter party one. Harper,
that's right.
You have that. Well, what was the recruiting process for you like? When did you get your first letter? Do you remember that? Or, someone that was of interest that you're going, I can't believe they want me to come and take a visit and get my basic information, right? You had to write them a letter in a self-addressed stamp envelope back to them to let them know how to contact you, right?
No, I didn't actually. So I was the number 1 or number 2 ranked player in the state of Tennessee. So I got a ton of letters. I was pretty highly recruited. I was a top 100 player in the country. But surprisingly, I had as many basketball offers as I had football offers to go to college.
Nice. Okay.
And quite honestly, basketball was my first love, and I really wanted to play that. But I told myself, there were really not many 6'1" guards in the NBA, so that's why I stuck with football. And Oklahoma was my dream school. I wanted to be the next J.C. Watts, and Oklahoma recruited me, and I was going to go to Oklahoma. That was my dream school. I wanted to run the veer and the option. And Barry Sanders visited me. Leroy Selman visited me a couple of times. I was going on my recruiting trip, and they had 19 inches of snow.
Oh, boy.
So I said, I'm going to Tennessee. That's all it took for me to change my mind. I mean, I went to Georgia. I went to a few other places, Kentucky. Ole Miss gave me Ole Miss and Vanderbilt gave me the opportunity to play both football and basketball. But I really was focused on football at that point. So I chose Tennessee.
Well, Vincent, when a guy has to turn down Barry Switzer the way that Joey had to, what else do we need to get you? Well, coach, doesn't matter. 19 inches of snow.
19 inches of snow. And anybody that knows me knows how much I hate cold weather.
Joey hates snow, right? Vincent, keep going. Keep going.
The next part, the next snow fall I sneak can be in a snow globe.
Yeah, that's it, right? Not to play.
Talk about the 82 recruiting class when you get on the campus in Knoxville and you see all these other great players that's on campus, like my 2 homeboys from my area, Mark Studaway, Carlton Peoples, then you see Lee Jenkins. But people don't know how good that 82 recruiting class was that you came in with. Xavier Cook out of my high school, Memphis Southside. Mm-hmm. Tony Robinson out of Leon High School, Tallahassee. Charles Davis. That's right, people. The famous Charles Davis that came out of New York as a safety. And then Bruce Wilkerson out of Philadelphia, Tennessee. So many. Dale Jones from Cleveland, Tennessee. Joe Cofer from Knoxville Rural. What was it like coming in with that very talented class?
Well, we ended up having a really special class. And the unique thing about that class was they recruited 8 quarterbacks. I was one of 8 quarterbacks that they signed. Okay. And going in, we all knew this. I mean, Charles was a quarterback. Tony Robinson was a quarterback. We had Tim Horton. We had Charles Robinson. We had Tommy Sims. We had Terry Brown, who's an NFL official now. They signed 8 of us as quarterbacks. Okay. And they promised us the opportunity to play quarterback. And in the beginning, that's what they did. We all had the opportunity to play quarterback. But in Johnny Major's mind and the coaching staff mind, they all knew if we sign athletes here, we will get those guys to play other positions and they'll be really good. So all of us were pretty good athletes. Charles went to safety. Tommy Sims and Terry Brown were corners. Tyrone Robinson was a defensive end. Tim Norton ended up transferring. But all this was precipitated by the fact that the first week of practice, watching Tony Robinson throw the ball, we all knew that, okay, what else can I do? Because we're not going to beat this guy. And to this day, I know everybody loves Peyton Manning, and I love him, but Tony Robinson was the best quarterback to come out of the University of Tennessee, without question. He could do things that when I got to the NFL, he was still the best quarterback I ever played with. He was a special, special talent. So it was really unfortunate how things turned out for him eventually, but he was a special, special talent. But yeah, we had a ton of athletes, is what they recruited, and their wisdom, and they were right. We all veered to other positions, and eventually we won a SEC championship because of that.
Talk about the meshing of the minds I'm a quarterback. I'm only a quarterback. Well, you've got other guys that are in front of you. Mm-hmm. If you want to help and be on the field and be a part of what we're doing here, you may be in a better spot if you move over here or move over there or move to this side of the ball. A lot of folks don't want to do that, but a lot of coaches don't do it in the right way. They don't plug and play guys in the right position. For you, what was that like? And what were the effects for you personally? Okay, I'm going to do something different, but I'm going to be a contributor to this team in another way. Tell us about your experience from that.
Well, it was difficult because I knew I was an athlete, and everybody, but we all knew we were athletes. We could probably do other things, but we all had our heart set on playing quarterback. But again, like I said, we saw this one guy who was different from the rest. This one guy that threw the ball differently than the rest, so we all knew we had to move or transfer. And after my first year, I considered transferring. I really did. I went into Coach Mates' office and had a talk with him, and he kept saying, "Just stick it out. You're going to play. Just stick it out. You're going to play." And I'm sure other guys did too. And that was the best thing that happened. Okay, because you grow through adversity. Okay, and we all grew in a position, and had today's world, had we been in back then what we are today, then we all would have been gone. We all would have been in the transfer portal.
That's right.
We all would have been looking for the next dollar. But again, by staying and handling adversity and excelling at the positions we were, it led us to an SEC championship.
And you tend to appreciate it a little bit more because of how hard it was. Is that
absolutely?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I've got a shot of you here. Tell me what it's like. Now, this is in the Liberty Bowl, but what was it like for you the first time they open up the tee, the band is playing, Rocky Top, there's 97,000 people, they're all going bonkers. When they're finally doing that and you're wearing that orange uniform, what was that like for you the first couple of times that you go out there on the field? And this is your life now for the next 3 or 4 years.
It was amazing. I mean, you see it on TV, and you really don't get the feel of it unless you're doing it. And once you're running through the tee and your adrenaline is flowing and the band is playing, it's an unforgettable feeling.
I've got a question for you. My first road game was the 81 Colorado State game in Tennessee. So you were still in high school there, but yes. I played against, and then later on in my career with Reggie White, played against Billy Bates, Willie Galt, some really amazing guys. But I just remember as big as that stadium is, the people are so close and it goes up in a different way. It doesn't go out. Like if you played at Michigan or the Rose Bowl, those stadiums go out. You got to be able to get those people in. But Tennessee is a very unique building. As big as it is, I think it's a smaller big stadium because everybody's so close to you. Am I right there in terms of how I'm describing that?
I would agree with that. And I could, it's hard. It's hard for me because in the moment, I mean, when you're standing on the sideline, you hear everything. But when you're in the game and a play is called and you're running, then you really, you kind of block that noise out. So it's really loud when you're standing there, and I can imagine it's really loud for the opponents. But once you're in the midst of the action, you have total vision, and you just kind of block the noise out.
Yeah, but now you're also they know to shut up when you got the ball, but they make
absolutely. Yeah, that's part of it too.
Smart fans. Yeah. Well, you get to play there first year, second year. There's some guys. Vincent, give us a good perspective of some of the teammates in that wide receiver room. You've got a list of them. I know you do.
Well, I'm going to tell people this. Anthony Hancock was a first-round pick in '82 draft. Mr. Joy's first year on campus, so he had left. And I want people to understand this. Now, everybody talk about LSU as wide receiver U in days and times. Of course, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. Then everybody talk about Ohio State, Garrett Wilson, the young man right now, Jeremiah Smith, Chris Avila with New Orleans. But I'm going to tell y'all this. In the 80s, I want y'all to listen to what Mr. Joy had to do. Now, he's telling y'all that he had to go from quarterback to receiver. Look at the competition he had to go up with. Willie Gault, Clyde Duncan, Tim McGee, Darrell Wilson, Mike Miller, Anthony Miller. All of them were either first round or second round picks. Mm-hmm. And that was smoke on the field on that AstroTurf in Neyland Stadium.
And most of those guys ran track. They were on the
Thank
track.
You.
They could really run.
Think about and give this man his flowers. Think about that smoke he had to go with at the University of Tennessee. Every day he was up against that, and this gentleman right here moved from quarterback to wide receiver. It was no better other receiving core in the country that was putting out receivers like that in the 80s. And I'm glad today that Mr. Joy said it like it was. See, now here 100 yards of football, we might say things that might offend people, but Tony Robinson, and I've always said this, not because he went to the University of Tennessee, not because he's from Leon High School. To me, he's the best quarterback I ever seen under center. He was Steve McNair, not as fast as Michael Vick. He was Lamar Jackson. He was Patrick Mahomes, but you know what he was? All you got to go is go back and look at the Auburn film in 1985. We're going to talk about that here shortly. And he had the best ball, throwing the ball deep, accuracy, and he was smooth like a point guard running that Tennessee offense with this young man at the other receiver spot with Tim McGee. Back to you, Harper.
Oh, just your comments on that, Joey. You mentioned the receiving room itself and the guys that you got to compete with, but a guy that throws a catchable ball, who doesn't want something like that on their roster?
Tony was amazing. I mean, he was athletic. He could really run. He was 6'4", he had long legs, a little bit gangly, but he could run. I mean, like you said, all you got to do is look at the Auburn game. Auburn comes in number 1 in the country. Tony throws for, I think, even back then, he throws for 387 yards. 3 or 4 touchdowns, and the next week he's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. That was a big deal. I mean, and he would have been a first-round pick had the injury not occurred and the other things that were going on. But again, from a talent perspective, he could throw the ball, 70, 80 yards in the air. He was athletic. He had great football acumen. Walt Harris was the offensive coordinator. Walt may tell you, and I don't want to put words in Walt's mouth, but from a talent perspective, Tony was probably the most talented quarterback that he ever coached. So he was just a special football player, special individual.
So you're fighting for the SEC championship, and week after week, it's LSU, it's Mississippi, it's Georgia or Florida or Kentucky or those guys to the southwest, Bama. Every stinking week, you're going against an amazing school with a great program. Tell me how, from a competitive standpoint or preparedness standpoint, there's no rest for the weary. I mean, every week was a new opportunity to play against a fantastic football team and to be seen because of that.
Yeah, the SEC's always been, from top to bottom, the best league, and it is today, quite honestly. Although the Big Ten is probably, at least this year, top heavy. But from top to bottom, the SEC is a real gauntlet. And back then, it wasn't as many teams in the SEC as it is today for a lot of different reasons. But it was really tough. I mean, Florida was always really good. Obviously, Alabama Although I can say I was a part of beating Alabama 4 straight years.
There's a certain portion of the hatred between Alabama and Tennessee. For you to be able to say that, for the rest of your life, you can tell any Roll Tide fan, "Oh, you never beat me."
That's right.
Right? There's a certain fun that you get to have and say that. Well, yeah, you've had some good years, but not against me. You didn't, right?
That's right. That's right. So it was great, and obviously they had some great players, the Cornelius Bennett's of the worlds, and I mean they had some, like always, and Florida had great players back then as well. I mean the SEC was on, LSU had great players back then, but Tennessee did also. The coaches staff did a really good job of recruiting players, and they recruited a lot of speed. Sam Grady played my junior and senior year, and obviously he was an Olympian, 100-meter on the track team. And Terry Scott, he played, and he was on the track team, along with guys that came in. And Alvin Harper was a young guy, and Carl Pickens was a young guy, and those guys were obviously first and second round picks and had great NFL careers. But Tennessee was always loaded at the receiver position back in the day. So it was great, and Bruce Wilkerson on the offensive line, who was really great, who was a second round pick that played a long time, and obviously Raleigh McKenzie, who is funny. He played at Tennessee, but his professional career was a lot better than his college career, and he ended up playing 16 years. Played with the Hogs and won championship, a couple championships. But it's accredited to the coaching staff and to the individuals that really put in the hard work. Yeah, they were committed. They were really committed to Tennessee. The Dale Joneses of the world was really committed to the University of Tennessee. Yeah, it meant something to him to play for that and have the T on the side of the helmet.
Go ahead, Vincent.
Well said. Tennessee pride in the house today. Big Orange. But let's get to the meat and potatoes. The '85 season, the season that really turned Tennessee football around. If Tony Robinson doesn't get hurt that year, I can honestly say this gentleman that's on our show today would have probably been a high first round or second round pick. People don't know the impact of him getting hurt. Reason I say this, that was my first few months in Knoxville. I'm gonna start with the UCLA game, national television game. Tennessee ended up tying UCLA 26-26 with Mr. Joey Clinkscales, 4 receptions, over 106 yards, that 68-yard touchdown. There you go. Beautiful art right there. Then the following week, 2 weeks later against Auburn, big time 10-yard touchdown catch. Then against Wake Forest, 9-yard touchdown catch. And then the Florida game before Mr. Robinson got hurt. Even though the Vols lost that Florida game, but that's when Mr. Joey Clinkscales put on the show. 7 receptions, 101 yards, 1 touchdown. He was on his way, and him and Tim McGee were hard to handle. And people don't understand that '85 season was special. The only thing when Tony Robinson got his knee torn up in the Alabama game and then his legal problems, I'm not going to get into that. But if he would have stayed healthy, he would have won the Heisman. They would have had another receiver drafted high because Tim McGee went in the first round the following year. And this gentleman that's with us today would have definitely went high in the draft. Back to you, Harper.
Well, your thoughts on that '85 season? Obviously, Joey, we want to know what you were thinking, and you're going into your senior year and getting a chance. Your junior year, excuse me, with the red shirt. And I imagine there are times during two-a-days that you're looking around the room, you're looking around at the practice field, and you go, "We're as good as anybody. We can bring it."
Well, that's funny. I don't think we knew how good we could be at that point. We were really a hungry team. Coming off the previous season, we played. I can't remember whether we won or lost the Sun Bowl game. But coming back, we knew we would be pretty good. We just didn't know how good we would play. We knew UCLA would be a challenge, and really, we let them tie us because we had a lead, and they came back. And Gaston Green played his butt off that game, but we played great, and I think that propelled us the rest of our year. And Tony was a special player, but defensively, we had Marco Vanix, we had Dale Jones, and we had Charles at safety. We had Chris White at safety, who really never played before and ended up leading the country in interceptions. I think he had 10 that year for a guy that never really played any football at Tennessee much before. Terry Brown was one corner. Then we had Andre Kramer, I believe, at another corner. Xavier played some safety. So we ended up being a team that got better each week. And it kind of showed in our performances. And then the tragedy that happened at Alabama. Going back to the Florida game, it's funny because which was the only game we lost that year. We probably would have won that game had it not been for a fluke play. So Tony drops back for a pass. He has a tactile on. He steps on the tactile as he's about to throw the ball, and he slips and goes down. Okay, but he's throwing the ball, I think, to Tim, and Tim is wide open in the end zone. So he's not able to get the ball off. The rest is history. We end up losing by 3 or 4 points. But with the exception of that, we had a really special season. I think we had a tie shortly. The next game after Tony got hurt, I think we had a tie that game. And then Daryl Dickey, he came in as the quarterback. He got it together. Daryl had been a 6-year guy, the son of the athletic director at the time, Doug Dickey. And, Daryl kind of steadied the ship. And he was, again, another bright guy who I think he was at one point was offense coordinator at Florida State later on in his career. But a really bright guy, great football acumen, and he steadied the ship. He did exactly what he needed to do as a quarterback. We ended up going to the Sugar Bowl. We were ranked, 7th or 8th at the time. And we would have been a lot higher had Tony been there, but we ended up 7th or 8th. We're playing Miami in the Sugar Bowl, and they're really thinking that they're gonna run us out of the Sugar Bowl, and with Michael Irvin and those guys, and Alonzo
Highsmith,
Yep. Yeah, all those guys, and next thing you know, they score first, and we score the next 35 points, beat them 35-7 in the Sugar Bowl.
You had a touchdown or two, right? Didn't you? Or a couple conversions there in that game?
Yeah, a couple conversions that game. I didn't score that game, but yeah, but we had it was a great time in New Orleans.
Well, you mentioned Miami. We talked a little bit about Florida State, UCLA. Talk about that non-conference schedule. One of the things I admire about Tennessee is that they would always play a big game. Notre Dame for a while, right? There was always a big game that between Notre Dame and some other of the big schools. Getting exposure to that. Yes, you played Middle Tennessee every now and then, or once a year you'd have a game that would be against a lower division school, but you also played some of the toughest guys, and I thought that would help prep guys for, one, getting themselves as good as they can possibly be, but two, getting a feel for, hey, these are the best teams in the country, and we can hold our own against them. I would imagine from a professional level, hey, they're getting drafted, and these guys have a room full of guys that are going to get picked for the NFL. So do we. Is there any aspect of that for you?
Oh, absolutely. I think from an athletic perspective, the more good teams you can play is a measuring stick for where you are as an athlete, where you are as a team, and what you need to work on to be as good as the team you just played. And from a scheduling standpoint, I think Tennessee did a good job with that. Now we would play the Citadel and some other teams for homecoming, sure, and that kind of thing, like a lot of teams. But again, playing the SEC schedule at that point was really tough. But we played UCLA, We played the LSUs. We played those guys. And while I was there, we didn't play Notre Dame, but they played Notre Dame before and after. So I think we were always able to gauge what kind of team we were. They used to play USC. They played USC the year before I got there, out in the out there at USC. So
in the Coliseum, yeah, right.
In the Coliseum. So they always had a home and home there. So so it was always interesting the way the schedule was put together, but it was great because we always were able to gauge where we're as a team.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that dramatically. Hey, I think I interrupted you, Vincent. You were going to ask a question as well?
No, I don't. Like I said, that Tennessee team in '85 is really responsible for the success of the Peyton Mannings and the T. Mars. They set this kind of the tone for success Tennessee's had in the late '80s and '90s and what they had now, the Josh Heupel. Because I believe that was Coach Major's 6th year, and there was some flat. He was coming to me because he had won the national championship at Pitt. And everybody thought, hey, he being a home son, coming back to Tennessee, played there, All-American, that Tennessee must have been where they at before the '85 season. But I would be wrong because I talked to some people. I still know some people up there in East Tennessee and Illinois City and Loudoun. Joey, they wanted me to ask you today your relationship with one of the great legends out of Sweetwater, Tennessee, your position coach, Kippy Brown.
Kippy was like another father to me, as he was probably everybody. But you know, I was really close with Kippy. Again, I can't say any closer than anybody else because Kippy treated us all like his son. I mean, Kippy would coach us hard. He would coach us hard when he needed to coach us hard. He would love us up when we need to be loved up. We could come over to his house with he and Dion and have dinner, just do whatever. But Kippy was the right coach for us. When I first got there, it was Bob Harrison who actually recruited me. Bob recruited me, and then Kippy came in a year or two later, and you know, Kippy took that receiver room to another level. Kippy was a great receiver coach. He paid a lot of attention to detail. You know, he was passionate about his job, and he cared about each one of us. And you know, players play hard when they know that, you know, the coach cares for them.
Talk a little bit about the technique of doing certain things. If you learned to watch for things like this as a scout, but as a player, when he would tell you it's a 10-yard out, not an 8-yard out, don't go 8 yards. Get your feet in the right position. Break at a 90-degree angle, not at a 107-degree angle. Get your feet and lower your shoulders, because when you stop moving your hands, I know from a defensive perspective that you're going to change your direction or you're going to stop and slow down.
Absolutely.
Play through things like that. What were some of the things that you learned, not only in that room, but out there on the practice field, that made you have an aha moment? Oh, now I know why I got to do it this way, and it's working. I'm better because of it.
Well, a lot of it, let's take, for example, what you're talking about, 10-yard out. So a lot of it is stride pattern, okay? If your inside foot is up and your outside foot is back and you're running, that's usually 5 steps. You know, sometimes it's 4 steps, but you have to plant on your if it's a roll cut, you're planning on your inside foot so you can roll over. It's rolling 8 to 10. If it's just in and out, then you're planting on that inside foot so you can flatten it out. So it's just a technique thing that we worked on a lot, and we did a lot of cone work from that standpoint. And also he taught one of the things that most people would tell you I was really good at is the stretch catch. So what that entails is, you know, when you're going deep, is keeping the defender on your shoulder, okay? And by keeping the defender on your shoulder, on your back, he has to go through you to get to the ball. So if it's a deep ball and the ball is underthrown, instead of turning around and stopping, you just slow down, catch it over your shoulder. So you're making the quarterback right all the time. You're catching the ball over your shoulder, and the defensive back has to go through you to get to the ball. So you'll see plenty of times, if you've seen any highlights, where I do that quite a bit and I always kept the defender on my shoulder, so I didn't, if there was a penalty, he was coming through me to get to the ball.
Yeah, that's just a simple I'm going to be smarter than you are guy type of situation where if I have to slow down because the ball is underthrown, then that guy's going to get a pass interference penalty because he's going to go through me and make contact with me before the ball gets there. That's a flag almost every single time. That's just smart receiving. And that, like I said, those are things that you learn in the room and out on the practice field, and then you apply it into a game. Next thing you know, you're a hero for getting the first down when you needed one on a big play.
Right. That's correct. That's correct.
I would imagine now going into your senior year, what are your thought processes? You're thinking, okay, I'm going to get my degree. I'm real close to doing that. I've got, pretty girls everywhere. I can go to a movie every now and then, but I got to go to practice. I got to work out. I got to lift. I got to make sure I study film. I got to talk about your focus there going into your senior year and how things are. This is it. Now I'm the leader.
Yeah, well, I was a captain my senior year, so it was important to at least try to do the right thing. I put it that way. It's hard for a 21-year-old to always do the right thing, but try to do the right thing. But practice was important. Working out was important, obviously. And I wanted to graduate. My mother wanted me to graduate. It's a funny story there. Don DeVoe was the basketball coach. In my senior year, I had the opportunity to play on the basketball team at Tennessee. And after the football season, but we finished in that Liberty Bowl game. That was like the last week in December. So I could have went to play basketball on the following week, but I declined to do so because we were on the quarter system. I had like 8 hours to graduation, and I was like, if I don't graduate now, it's going to be a while before I come back here. So I walked across the stage, graduating March 21st, 1987. So had I played basketball, I probably would not have done that. So it was important to be able to get my degree before I left the building.
Absolutely. And if no one else has said it, congratulations. Well done. Good decision. At least, get the degree and take care of that. And then I would imagine it's all right. We'll get ready for the combine and get ready for the 1987 draft.
Yeah, the combine was different then than it was today. But, I got prepared to go, had a couple injuries in the process, but went to the combine and worked out, did not lift because I had a shoulder. And back then there were 28 teams and 12 rounds. And I was a 9th round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I was down about that for a while, but it all worked out for a reason. I mean, I went to the right team, the right organization, and I had a great time there. And my draft class was amazing. I mean, Rod Woodson was the first pick, who was a Hall of Famer. You had Delton Hall, who was a corner, Thomas Everett, who was a safety. You had Merle Hodge, who was a running back, who was picked after me. You had Greg Lloyd, who was a defensive end, who played, as you all know. We had I'm missing somebody else that was a really good player. Another linebacker went to Cal. He was Hardy. Yeah, we were all in the same draft class for the Steelers.
Wow.
And so it was a great draft class with a lot of really high-end players, and we had a wonderful time playing together.
Now you're in Western Pennsylvania. You didn't like the snow in Oklahoma, but eventually you got a little cold up there.
It got cold.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. But I'm also thinking their practice uniforms. That I think you had better high school stuff than you did back then. The Steelers do not invest in their practice jerseys. No. All yellow. It is raunchy looking. They're dirty. They don't look good. And they're in Western Pennsylvania in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's not bright lights. There's not 89,000 people with folks booing in Neyland Stadium. This is a completely different environment, and it's a professional one. You just got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely. It was obviously different than college, but there were a lot of great people there. I mean, John Stallworth, who was one of my idols, was still playing. He was there. Donnie Shell was still there. Webster at center was still there. So you had some really great players that were still on the team. And I'm missing a couple.
Sure. Bubby Brister, was he there yet?
Bubby Brister was one of my quarterbacks. Mark Malone was the starter. Bubby was the backup at that point. So it was great, and practices were always competitive. Chuck Noll was the coach. It was always competitive. I tell people, first day of training camp, we're in full pads, and the first drill is live kickoff drill. Okay, so Chuck wanted to know right away who was tough, who had toughness, who wasn't tough, but live kickoff drill, first drill of training camp. So that lasted 15, 20 minutes, just live kickoff drill. So it was a car crash for 20 minutes.
Yeah, no kidding. And some of the, obviously the rules have changed dramatically in professional football regarding the kickoff, but if you've got a rookie giving 100% and a veteran giving 75, and the veteran does not like to be upshowed, there were probably a couple of scuffles that take place during that first drill. And you're going, welcome to professional football, especially when you walk in the building and you see those 4 trophies. They do it right there.
Absolutely, they do it right, and but the veterans were always the leaders. I mean, you had some rookies that really stood out, but in those kickoff drills, hey, those veterans, they like the NFL life. They like, they have families to take care of, and wife and children and everything else. So they were, and back in those days, you could bring 120 guys to camp. So is a lot of guys in training camp.
Yep, a lot of bodies, and you'll go through them 1 week at a time. Preseason ends up, and you get a uniform. You've got a roster spot. Talk a little bit about the joy that you had for that.
It was great. The thing about the thing about me as a player, and I dealt with injuries a lot of the time, not major injuries, never a surgery or anything. It was always a hamstring or an ankle, something like that. But the thing about I prided myself in as a player is knowing every position. And that was probably the thing that helped me make it, is because, I knew the slot position, I knew the outside position, I knew the opposite position. So I think your football acumen can carry you a long way when, you have similar talent to some other people. But we always had a pretty good receiving core at Pittsburgh.
Well, Joey, talk a little bit about that. Obviously, the more you can do, or the more the better your chances are. So was that something that you went into camp saying, look, I'm going to not only learn my position, but some of the other guys as well, or other positions, so that I can take advantage of that? Or was that from a similarity in the type of offense that you ran in college that carried over into your professional career?
No, not at Pittsburgh. The offense was different than it was at Tennessee. But the thing that helped me is, just my knowledge of the game, just kind of having a feel from being able to play quarterback and know different things. So I think all that helped me assimilate myself in a way that the coaches trusted me. And if a coach trusts what you're doing, that you're going to do the right thing, or if a guy goes down, they can put you in. Those things will help you make the roster. Yeah.
And then having Bubby or Mark Malone throw one to you in a practice, and you make a nice catch, you get the first down, or you accomplish what you need to. You get back in the huddle, and he goes, "Nice catch, Rook." That's about the nicest compliment you're going to get. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or when they pull you off to the side, now listen, I like the way you ran that route, but break it off here next time, and it's going to work. When they start talking to you like you are a member of the team, and it's going to be in the middle of the season, and you're the guy that they're going to go with, right? That was probably a really cool portion of your training camp experience after you sing the fight song, right, on rookie night. But then now they're starting to implement things with me.
Right. Yeah. So all that was great. And they drafted a receiver, Charles Lockett, ahead of me. And I was the second receiver drafted, but they drafted Charles Lockett. He had gone to, he was a California kid. He went to Long Beach State. That's where he was from, Long Beach State.
Yeah.
And who was really good, but he was a smaller receiver. He was more of a slot receiver. He really wasn't an outside receiver. But yeah, so things were, things went, pretty good early. And again, I had John Stallworth to learn from. I had Louis Lips to learn from. Calvin, I can't think of Calvin's last name, but he was a UCLA guy. He was there. So and Ouija Thompson was there. If you guys remember Ouija Thompson, he was from Florida State. He was 6'7".
Right.
I had those guys to learn from and watch what they were doing and all that helped.
Can I, real quick, I'm going to ask you if there was a similar situation with you. My second year in the league, I'm playing in Philadelphia, and Keith Jackson was the tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say they call, 14 wide, whatever the play is. And I know that Keith Jackson is supposed to run a 10-yard, it's called a stick route. He's going to go up 10 yards from right over where he's lined up. If he's on the hash mark, he's going to line up 10 yards on the hash mark, and he's going to turn around.
Right.
Well, doggone, if Keith Jackson doesn't run outside and he's halfway between the hash mark and the top of the numbers, and I'm thinking to myself, that's not the route. He's not in the right spot. And then Randall Cunningham would throw him the ball, completion. The coaches say, good job, and they move on to the next play. What I learned from that after watching it 2 or 3 times is not, hey, Keith is wrong. Harper, you would have run it differently. No, if Harper runs it, he's going to be covered by the linebacker or the safety, and Keith is wide open. I learned to expand the field to where it's not just where you are, but how you get to where you are and where the quarterback knows where you're going to be so that you can beat the zone or the man or whatever coverage is there.
Right.
And a different understanding of how the game is played.
Absolutely. I mean, it's football is unique in the way that coverages change. What you see at pre-snap is usually completely different you see post-snap. And you have to react quick. And sometimes, the quarterback and the tight end or the quarterback receiver, they can look at each other and say, okay, if this happens, we're going to do this. So if this safety moves here, I don't want you to stop it. I don't want you to do a stick. If he's going back toward the middle of the field, I just want you to replace where he comes from.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to go there, and they know that. They may not verbalize that, but they've talked about that, and they know that. And, as long as they have a plan and the plan works, the coach will say, good job.
Yeah. Yeah. We got the first down. You guys figured it out. That makes everybody look good. And as good as defenses are, you run that same play in the third quarter, they'll stop you, probably get an interception. If not, get a sack or something like that, because you can't fool me twice. That's part of what the league is. They're so good. Even if you flip it over from a right to a left formation or you put a slot, whatever, guys recognize stuff. So your ability to read on the fly and be able to do the right things, that was probably a completely different level than maybe what you experienced. I'm not saying you didn't experience it at the level in college, but it's at a higher degree. The speed and the decision making is so instantaneous.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Tom Moore, the great Tom Moore,
yeah,
who has coached everybody, was my receiver coach in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
My first year. The first year he was the receiver coach. The second year, I can't remember whether he left or he was the offensive coordinator because I had another guy the second year. But Tom used to always say, run the route with conviction. Okay. You can't run the route thinking. You have to run it with conviction because everything is based on timing. The quarterback's got to get the ball out of his hand. So run. I can hear him now. Run the route with conviction. I'll see him today, and he'll say the same thing. He was great. Tom was great, but so it was completely different. The NFL is a different animal than college football.
Yeah. Well, your experience there with Pittsburgh, 2 years. You end up in Tampa. Ray Perkins is the head coach there. Is that right?
Ooh, yes, he was.
Yeah. The woo. I'm thinking that's because of 3-a-days, right?
Well, 3 days, but I'm not going to I'm not going to disparage people, but that was rough sledding down in Tampa, and not because of a talent level perspective, because I think Vinny Testaverde was there. He was the quarterback. We had Bruce Hill at one receiver. We had Mark Carey as a receiver. We had Frank Pillow as a young receiver that went to TSU. We still had James Wilder running back. It was just a really young team, okay. And you have a young team, and you have a coach that's a real kind of hard ass discipline guy. It was tough. And I tell people today, as good a quarterback as Vinny Testaverde was, Ray Perkins was the head coach and the offense coordinator, and that was really hard. That there was no in between, and Ray was hard on Vinny, and there was no buffer in between.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that was a good situation at the end of the day to help the quarterback.
I forget. I was in camp there in '88 and was only there a week. And Richard Williamson was a part of that staff as well.
Yep, he was my receiver coach. Great.
Okay. So I wasn't sure if he was a quarterback coach. So thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. You're at University of Tampa. Where was training camp at Tampa?
Yes.
We're on a track. I've told people this for years. Not many, because if you don't ask, I'm not going to tell you. But
right.
Vincent's never heard this. And this is like my first or second. It is so stinking hot there. I had sweat in my shoes to where I had buckets of water that just dripping out. And Vinny drops back and he throws a pass. It goes over the receiver onto the track and bounces into the second row of the little stands that they had there in that makeshift stadium. No one said a word. No one said anything. And it was as if it didn't happen, but it did. There was no correction. There was no, hey, Vinny, what the heck are you doing there? Get the ball down or do whatever. There was no receiver needs to be in another place. It was almost as people were afraid to say something to hurt somebody's feelings.
Right.
And that really impacted me, because I go to Green Bay a couple of years later. I'm playing with Mike Holmgren there, and Mike is chewing Brett Favre out. He's moving Shimura. He's telling Frank Winters. He's telling me, get your act together, or I'm going to find. I got a whole stack of index cards with other people's names on it that I'll bring in here to do it right. Completely different philosophy. I'm not disparaging anything that Ray did or Vinny or anything. That's what I noticed. I go, why aren't we fixing the problem? 2 + 2 is 5. There was a mistake there, and nobody did anything. Tell me where I'm wrong with that, Joey.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It was again. I mean, there were some great coaches on the staff, but Ray had come from the Giants. I'm not sure where he came from at the time.
Absolutely,
and he did things his way, the things he thought would work, and
Well, the 3 days I got there, and there were only 2 days. The third practice was kind of a walkthrough where we just did special teams, and then we had a preseason game in Atlanta. We get back from that, and I was cut before we watched film, and I was there to snap. Dan Turk was the guy. You remember Dan? Pretty good at what he did. His brother was a great punter. Long story short, my experience was very short there, but I also learned something as well. And Joey, again, you tell me if I'm wrong here, but if you overdo it in the preseason, in the heat in Tampa, you can cook your team, so to speak, for the first half of the season, and they won't be able to compete. They're exhausted. They're worn out. They don't have fresh legs, and it'll cost you in your wins and losses.
Absolutely. And the facilities we had at Tampa were, obviously we were right off the airport, the practice fields, and I tell people all the time where the International Mall is, that used to be a golf course. When I played at Tampa Bay, that was the golf course. It was a golf course across. That was a golf course.
Yeah.
And, now it's a mall, but it was mostly outside, and we rarely got rain. So all that was great, but it was pro football was different back then.
Yeah. There were times where if the wind was blowing right, you were getting all that diesel fuel or jet fuel that was kind of creeping over every now and then. And
yes,
it was a small facility. Today's day, it would not pass because it wasn't professional enough, if you know what I mean. I mean, it
correct.
was second and third grade tier stuff, material. It is what it is. I'm not disparaging them. I'm just that it was a tough place to play.
Yeah,
well, that the history of the organization, it took 27 games for them to finally win their first.
And that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Anyways, well, that ends. And talk a little bit about your mindset. What am I going to do the rest of my life?
So when I leave Pittsburgh, the guy that drafted me, obviously Dick Haley, what a great man who should, and I'm gonna say it right now, should be in the Hall of Fame as an executive because he was a GM over the 4 Super Bowl teams in Pittsburgh at the time. But Dick, he wrote me a letter. He said, I appreciate, this is when I left there to go to Tampa. He said, we appreciate everything you did. If I can ever do anything for you, let me know.
Wow.
And I thought that was really nice. So once I left Tampa, I tried out at Indianapolis and my heart really wasn't in it. I'm like, you know what, it's time to do something else because I kept getting hurt, yada, yada, yada. So I reach out to him and I say, hey, I don't know what I want to do, but I really like to try scouting. I'd like to try scouting. So he said, okay. He said, we don't have anything available, but why don't we get you doing some stuff part-time? So for a few years, I did some part-time scouting for the Steelers, looked at college teams in Tennessee area, did that. And then there was a job available with the Combine with National Scouting. So I did that for 6 months. That was full-time. And then I had once that was over, I had 2 job offers in 5 hours. I had a job with the Eagles, with John Wooten and the Eagles at the time, and Dick Haley was with the Jets. So I decided to go to the Jets, and I was there for 17 years.
How about that?
I started as a area scout, and when I left, I was the vice president of scouting. And I go to the Raiders from there because Reggie becomes the GM of the Raiders. So I go to the Raiders as the director of player personnel with Reggie, and we spent 7, 8 years there.
Well, before we go further, 5 years in between one aspect of another, when I'm ending my career and when I get this full-time job with the Jets. Talk about some of the hardships going on with that. And what I imagine in year 2 or 3, you're going, what else do I need to do to be order? I want to turn this into a career thing. I love the game and I want to stay a part of it.
Yeah, I did some other jobs. I was in teaching for a while, which I enjoyed in Memphis. Because I was married, I was in Memphis. Both my kids were born and raised in Memphis.
That's going to be a real issue for Vincent. He's not going to want to talk about anything else. He's just going to want to talk about the 901 and how great the barbecue is. You know that?
Hey, the barbecue is amazing, without question.
Hello.
But so I did that. I worked in the school system there a little bit, and then I worked as for a distributor that sold wine and liquor, and that was probably the most fun I had because I was able to go out and sell this product. And at that point, I still didn't drink, so they got off easy because I wasn't able to drink up the product, which is different today. But back then, I didn't drink, so it was easy. But that was really a fun job, and then I got back into football, and because that was where my heart and passion was, and eventually it happened for me, and I was able to go back.
Well, did you call the Jets? They call you? Tell me what that experience was.
Well, Dick Haley was there, the guy that wrote me the letter. He became the GM, and I reached out to him. I was at National Scouting at the time, and they were a part of that group who I read reports for. So again, right after those meetings, I had 2 job offers within 5 hours. I had the Eagles and the Jets. So I took the Jets job, and that kind of set my course in the NFL.
What was your territory? Did you have a specific region of the country, or
I was in the Southeast. I was in the South. I was a Southeast scout, so I was in the toughest region, obviously. But yeah, that was home for me, so I went to all the schools, and it's crazy. I tell people all the time, my very first school that I went to as a scout, I go to East Carolina. I'm looking at the map. Back then, we didn't have the Google stuff, so I'm looking at the Atlas map.
Rand McNally? Did you have
Rand
one of those
McNally.
with the squares in it? Yeah.
So I'm going to East Carolina, and I'm thinking it's like 9 hours from Memphis. I'm looking, I can get there in 9 hours. It was a 13-hour trip.
Holy cow!
So I get to my hotel room at about 2:30 in the morning. So I'm at the school by 7 a.m. I get to the school, look at a little tape, try to go to practice. I had already, we had to phone in, yada, yada, yada. I phone in, watch tape, go to practice. Head coach is Steve Logan.
Yes, sir. Good coach.
They play Tennessee in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. He finds out I went to school in Tennessee. He kicks me out of practice.
Oh.
I am as hot as fish grease. I am fuming. I'm like, I work for the Jets. I don't scout for Tennessee. He kicks me out of practice.
Get out. I don't care.
I'm hot as fish grease.
Yeah.
That's my introduction into scouting.
Wow.
My very first school I get kicked out of.
You're dog tired. You get up, you watch film anyways, and then he just said you can't even. I'll never draft one of your players. That's for sure.
He sent someone over, and they asked me to leave.
Oh my gosh! Well, welcome to professional football. Those are the things that not many people learn about, right? They're all thinking, man, it's private jets, and now stop it, man. There's a lot of hard work.
Absolutely.
Speaking of that, what was your schedule like? I mean, I imagine from a family man with a couple of young kids and a new bride, you're probably going, sweetheart, from about August till maybe the draft. You're not going to see me. It's just not going to happen.
It was tough. She was pretty understanding. It was tough, but I'd be gone. I tried to, depending on the schedule and where I had to go, I would be home. I'd be away a week and a half, and then I'm home 4 or 5 days before I go back out again. So we kind of had that because I would have to go to games on the weekends sometimes. Right. So I would set my schedule up so I was able to do that. But it was again, there were a few places I would fly, but a lot of places I drove, because once you go and in the South, the good thing about the South is you don't have to drive too far before you reach another school. It's not like we're spread out and I have to get on the plane to go here and here. It's a lot cheaper to drive, and I go from Alabama to Auburn, or I go from Tennessee to Vanderbilt, or Vanderbilt to Birmingham, and then to Tuscaloosa. And then, so you can drive all these places.
Tell me something that you learned early on in your skill set to where you go, this is going to apply for the rest of my life. I've always said I'm a foot guy. I watch guys' feet. I can tell athletically some things about a person, or like from a kid standpoint, when I coach my children, I say everything starts with your feet. So you got to really learn to develop, in my opinion, from the feet up. What were some of the things that you learned to watch for that made you not only good at what you do, but it made it easier for you to do it because you knew certain things about a kid that you were able to detect as good as anybody out there?
Well, first of all, you're completely right about the feet. Especially in offensive linemen, defensive linemen. I think any position you go to, your feet, your foot quickness, the angles you take, I think all those are important. I think the one thing that pro football really made me understand is talent gets you in the door. It doesn't guarantee you a spot. It doesn't make sure you stay there. It's the other things. So I could take a guy with lesser athletic ability, but if he's tough and he's smart and he cares, then he's going to play a lot longer than that guy that's talented. And I can back that up with a couple guys that we drafted later in the draft who were smart, tough, who weren't really athletic. That was just offensive linemen. We took from the University of Cincinnati, Jason Fabini. I'll give you an example of that example. Jason Fabini was a tackle. He was really a guard. He came in, he played guard, and Jumbo Elliott went down at tackle. This was in the Parcells days with the Jets. So we had to play Jason Fabini at tackle, and Jason Fabini lasted 5 years at tackle. Now, what you don't know about Jason Fabini is he had average arm length, and he ran like a 6'5", 6'6", 40. So athletically, saying he's limited is nice. Okay, but what you don't know is he was extremely smart. He was extremely tough. He cared about football. He understood angles. And he lasted 4 or 5 years playing tackle. And he was a very limited athlete. And those are the things that matter. So you can get away with a lesser athlete. So I tell people all the time, athleticism will get you in the door. Your talent will get you in the door. But it's all the other attributes to a football player that'll keep you there.
Is there a part of the prospectus that you would have on any player? I look at it this way: that movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner in it. I know it's fake, but there are little bits and pieces of that where I think you could probably go, yeah, that happened, right? Or, yeah, I had a conversation that was similar to that. And then that movie, the quarterback who's the star is this guy, Bo Callahan. He's this mythical guy, and everybody wants this Vontae Mack, and that's fine. But there's a certain part of the scouting. Well, everybody has to pay attention to Bo Callahan, right? Because he's good, but he may not be the right fit for us. Talk about that discrepancy between, I know this guy's going to make it. He might have a 5-year career, but I think we're going to get a 10-year career if we go with someone else different. And that's always hard to measure because you don't know what's inside. You don't know how tough they are until they express it in a way that benefits you and your organization.
Right.
I don't have a question there. That's just a comment. But I'd love for you to give your side of this of that type of a situation.
Sure. The one thing you can't measure in a player is his heart and his you can see toughness sometimes, how much he wants it, and everybody has a different motivation level. Some people are motivated by money. Some people are motivated by doing the best thing for their family. Everybody's motivated by something different. So when you're drafting a player, and I hate to put it in these terms, but it's almost like if you were investing in a stock, you would like to know as much about that stock as possible before you invested in it. So it's incumbent on personnel people to know as much about that player, what makes him tick, as possible. So the guy that you think may be the best fit, he may not be the best fit because you know a lot more about him than the media knows and other people knows about this player. And he may not just be the best fit. He may be a good player, but he may not be what you need at that point. Example, when I was with the Raiders, Reggie went to see Khalil Mack early. Love Khalil Mack. He came back talking about Khalil Mack. Okay, Khalil Mack was the University of Buffalo. Okay, we ended up having the 5th pick in the draft that year. Okay, so everybody, ownership didn't necessarily want Khalil Mack. I'm not going to tell you who they wanted, but that would have been a huge mistake had we done that. Somebody else made that mistake, and they found out. But the thing about Khalil Mack was he's from a small town, he's South Florida guy. Ended up going to Buffalo. He played against Ohio State that first game, and he was completely dominant. A defensive end, completely dominant from the University of Buffalo.
Yep.
But the thing you don't know about him is when his family came in, once you understand what kind of kid Khalil Mack is, once you sit down and talk to his mom and dad. I mean, that made you feel really good knowing the kind of kid, the kind of character, the kind of integrity that you got because you saw his mom and dad. And his dad, if you didn't know, was like a weightlifter, power lifter. So he was just like rocked up. I'm like, okay, can we have him too? Can we have Dad too?
Can we get a bonus package and draft them both?
Right. So that's how Dad was built. But to draft a kid from the University of Buffalo with the 5th pick of the draft, the only guy that we probably would have taken ahead of him had he still been there was Mike Evans. We were trying to debate on Mike Evans and Khalil Mack, and Mike went a pick ahead, and we took Khalil Mack. But he wasn't everybody's fit because he was a small college guy. He didn't do this, he didn't do this. But all he is tough, hardworking, extremely strong, technique sound. He has all these things, and he's still obviously still playing today. But he'll end up being a Hall of Famer because he's got over 100 sacks in his career.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, then, and I'm not doing this to be upsetting to anybody, but you get Albert Hainsworth, who just fights like a dog, and then he gets that big contract, and I think he found what four-wheelers were doing, and he didn't want to play anymore. He just wanted to have fun and enjoy his life. You never know when that's going to happen with any kid, any guy that you're looking at. And it, it was somewhat embarrassing when back then they were still the Redskins, but if I remember, Mike Shanahan had to go visit him, said, training camp started 3 days ago. We need you, Albert. We paid you all this money. You can't measure the heart. You just don't know when a guy's going to say, I really don't want to do this anymore. Or a guy like Khalil Mack that's in his 15th year, and he's trying as hard as he did when he was a rookie to make the team.
You know what they're made of trumps the athletic ability every time, because when you went to Tennessee, you had John Henderson and Albert Hainsworth, and Albert was athletically more talented. John was physically more gifted, but they were both 6'6". They were both 300-pounders, strong, really really good looking guys. But Albert was athletically was a better athlete than John. But what John had, inside his chest, kind of trumped what Albert had inside his chest. So you had to make the right decision from that standpoint.
Go ahead, Vincent.
Yeah, I want your time with the Jets, 94 to 2012, right? I'm gonna name some players, and I just want you, if it's fitting here in 100 Yards Football, just give us a one-word opinion about them. 1994, when y'all took Aaron Glenn.
Aaron Glenn could run like the wind. He was a corner from Texas A&M. He was a smaller guy, but he had really good ball skills. He had great change of direction quickness. For a smaller guy, he was tough. He was competitive, and all those things that I'm saying now is what he's going to give that organization as a head coach, because football means something to him.
95. My fat brother from Central State, Hugh Douglas.
Hugh Douglas was one of the first guys I scouted when I was at national scouting at Central State. I mean, Hugh was one of those guys. He was. You look at him at Central State and you're like, why is this guy here?
What's he doing there? How did they miss on that?
I mean, he wasn't the fastest guy, but he had great first step quickness.
Yes.
He had long arms. He was strong. He was physical. He's tough. He had the right demeanor. I mean, he had all the attributes other than just straight speed. He wasn't a speed rusher. He was a power rusher. He was one of those guys that he wasn't a speed to power guy. He was a straight power guy, but he played with great leverage. He could stay low. He could play with leverage, and he could long arm guys. I mean, he was really good.
And too bad he didn't have any muscles or strength or anything.
Right,
like
exactly.
That. What a shame.
He was the second first round pick. Kyle Brady, a tight end from Penn State, was the we had 2 first round picks that year.
Yep.
1999. Okay, 1999. I met this guy at Tri-Cities High School in the run and shoot, local gym down on Metropolitan here in Atlanta. My man, Randy Thomas, Mississippi State.
Randy Thomas. Randy was the prototypical offensive guard at that time. I mean, the thing Randy wasn't that we kind of look for today is a dual position guy. But Randy was athletic. He was the most athletic guard we had. I mean, he was really light on his feet. I mean, you're talking about somebody that could reach, block, and get downfield and play with physicality and play with great leverage. He was a great athlete who was strong and tough and physical.
The 2000 draft, very interesting. Y'all had 4 picks that year.
4 picks.
Sean Ellis, John Abraham, Chad Pennington, really 2 guys from Knoxville. One was originally from Knoxville, the one played at Tennessee. And my man, his son is balling at Iowa State. Andy Beck, Rocco Beck's father.
Yep. The only one of those guys I didn't see play live was obviously is Anthony Beck. But obviously Sean went to Tennessee. I knew Sean, and actually Sean and John are from the same hometown.
What?
In South Carolina. I think they're
knew.
from the Rock Hill area, right there in South Carolina. But it's funny. Obviously, I knew Sean. Sean was physical, another power end that had a nasty demeanor, that was tough, had a great rookie season, and had a pretty good career. And then John, we took. I think we took Sean at 10, John at 12, maybe around that area. And the funny thing about it, John Abraham was athletic. He was an athletic freak. He played defensive end and linebacker at South Carolina for Lou Holtz, and they had 0 wins his senior year. So you're taking a guy who did not win a game because on tape you couldn't keep your eyes off this guy. Everybody knew who he was. Everybody ran away from him, and he could run like the wind. He was a great athlete. He was a great athlete, and he could play with leverage. He could bend the edge. So he gave you the versatility to do a lot of things. Obviously, Chad Pennington, we needed a quarterback, and Chad played at Marshall with Randy Moss. Chad was, again, his football acumen was out of the roof. He's really smart. He was another coach on the field. He had great timing, and his arm was good. It wasn't great, but it was really good. He played in some cold weather in West Virginia at Marshall. Just a great kid from Webb High School in Knoxville. Every time I see him, I call him Webb High because he knows I'm from Knoxville. I call him Webb High.
Yeah.
But Chad, Chad is one of those guys.
If he went to Oak Ridge, would you have not drafted him? So forget. We don't know. We don't want anything to do with these.
I'd have probably hazed him myself. I'd have still taken him. I'd have hazed him myself. But Chad, what a great individual. And I'll tell this quick story. People talked about his arm strength, and Chad's arm was better before he got to the NFL. But Chad was one of those guys that worked and overworked. And there were times he would throw his arm out just in practice and after practice and doing all the work. And he was you couldn't outwork Chad. And that's the thing that people don't realize. Chad was really bright. He was smart. His football acumen was off the charts, but he was an amazing worker, very hard worker. And then Anthony Beck, because we needed another tight end. He was the best player available. He had good hands. He had decent speed. He was a really good blocker at the point. And he would always get leverage. Anthony did some really good things, but he wasn't the athletic Travis Kelce type tight end. He was more of a Y, a true Y, if you understand. You guys do, but for the fans, so you understand football lingo, he's a true on the line tight end. Yeah,
but he's a guy in short yardage or goal line. He's going to help move the pile. And
absolutely,
right. Kelce can't do that. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Right. No, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Vincent. I know you got some others.
Yeah, 3 more, and I'm gonna end my 3 other players. A young man from my hometown, Memphis, Tennessee, the 901 Orange Mound, Mr. Dwayne Robbins.
Dwayne Robbins, yeah, University of Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. We needed a guy we felt like that could, and I think we took him with the 4th pick of the draft. We needed a guy. We needed an interior lineman. I think we had just lost Chris, I can't think of Chris's name, but we got him from Carolina. He was a big nose guard. He was athletic. And Dwayne was really quick. He had short area quickness, had great short area punch. He played with leverage. And he played pretty. It took Dwayne a while to get used to the NFL. But, you know, he did some good things for us. I think we probably, at the end of the day, would have wanted more. But Dwayne was a really good football player. And if you're surrounding him with really good players, then, you know, the best way to rush a quarterback in the NFL is up the middle. Quarterbacks hate to be rushed up the middle because they love to step up in the pocket. And if the middle is collapsing, that's hard. And we felt like Dwayne could do that for us.
This one guy, he turned out to be a real good football player for y'all. And man, I'm really, really surprised. I know he's a good player, but Nick Mangold from the Ohio State.
Nick Mangold was the linchpin to that offensive line. And we had the Brickshaw Ferguson at tackle, but Nick Mangold was the leader of that group. Nick was tough. He was surprisingly, he was a pretty good athlete, but he was smart. He was physical. And again, he was the leader of that group. Nick was a great football player for us.
Did you see that y'all was drafting greatness? The young man out of Pittsburgh is Uncle Sean Gilbert. You know who I'm going to talk about. Did you, when y'all took him in 2007, did you see that word Hall of Fame on his chest?
No, we did.
Darrelle
Revis. He was a special talent. And the thing Darrelle did at Pitt is, the thing you notice about Darrelle is not only was he a great cover guy, but he was physical. And I tell people today that the thing that separated Darrelle Revis from other guys, I mean, you could play Darrelle like people play Deion because he could cut off a side of the field, which is why they named it Revis Island. But Darrelle Revis was physical. If you ran to his side, he would chop you down. And he did not back down from contact. He was smart. He was a humble kid. But Darrelle Revis had the talent. He could run with anybody, and he was physical at the line of scrimmage. When he played press, he was in your hip pocket the whole time. Mm. So Rex loved Darrelle because he could scheme up the left side of the field because we had I can't think of the kid from Florida State, the other Antonio Cromartie there, who was long and tall, who was a good player, and we had Revis on the other side who would shut down the other side of the field. So you were able to do a lot on defense because you could do that, because you could shut down one side of the field.
And my final player for the day, the man out of L.A., well, my man, our lead hostess from California, Hollywood, Mark Sanchez.
Mark was interesting. Mark came out of USC as a junior. I know Pete Carroll was telling everybody Mark not ready to come out. But we felt like we had a team that was a quarterback away from getting us where we wanted to be. We had Reeves at corner. We had just invested money in the offensive line. And Rex was there, and he wanted to do some things on defense that was really good. We added some pieces in free agency on defense. And it was really three quarterbacks that year. Matthew Stafford went first or second. So we knew we wouldn't get Stafford. We had the sixth pick, or we moved up to the sixth pick. And so we were talking about Mark Sanchez and Josh Freeman, who was at Kansas State. And we took Mark Sanchez. And Mark did a lot of good things for us. I mean, people clown him a lot for the butt fumble. But Mark was tough. And the thing Rex asked Mark to do is just play within himself. And he was able to do that. I mean, in his first 2 years, we went to the AFC Championship game both years.
Yeah.
I mean, we were a game away from the Super Bowl 2 years in a row with Mark Sanchez. So he did a lot of good things for us.
Curtis Martin was the running back. It's okay to give the ball to him, wasn't it?
Absolutely. We were a ground and pound team because we had a really good offensive line. We could run the ball, play solid defense, and that took us a long way.
Back to you, Harp.
Well, you made an interesting couple of comments there. I had the great privilege a few years ago, and shortly before he died, of being at the Falcons training camp at the same day that Gil Brandt had walked through. And we were on a commercial break from the radio show that I was working at. And I took my headphones off and I went over. As soon as I saw him, I said, Gil, I know you don't remember me. I was a Dallas Cowboy for a very short period of time. My name is Harper LaBelle. And I didn't even get to finish saying and. I probably said eh.
Right.
And he said, tight end, Colorado State University. You came out in 1985. And I find out later that Gil had a photographic memory and an ability to use the computer in his brain to sort and file and chart and index all of these thousands of players that he would assess throughout the course of his career. And for him to be pulling up something like that, as instantaneously said, there's something different about this dude. You have that as well. What is the skill set that allows for you to be able to remember different players and things about them as quickly? Is it just the familiarity of it, or what you're looking for? Is the amount of time that you invest?
It's the time you invest. Is the copious notes that you take on these players. It's I tell people all the time, I might forget a number and sometime a name. I never forget where a guy went to school. I can tell you, I see guys on TV. I see basketball players on TV that I'm invested in, that I like. I can tell you what college they went to. It's just one of those things that once you are in personnel and you're forced to do different things and you learn football a certain way, that's just part of it.
Yeah. It's an amazing trait. What's the decision-making process like for someone who wouldn't know when you're talking about a player? And this doesn't have to be a draft day decision, but you're going, if he's on the board, we're going to take him. Is it a simple yes, no after weeks and months of debating and all that kind of stuff? When it comes down to actually making the process of yes, we want to draft this kid if he's there, over everybody else, versus a no, who has the final decision in how that's being made?
Well, so it's I don't want to say it's a complicated decision, because it's really not. If the best player, if the player you want is there, then you take him. You don't look back. And even if you get calls to move out of that pick, the only way you do that is if you have 2 or 3 players ranked together with the same grade, and you feel like you're going to get one of those guys. If not, then you don't move back. But what you do is every good team, the personnel department and their scouting the personnel department and their coaching staff are in lockstep together. Okay. And the teams that aren't like that usually aren't winning a lot of games, because the scouting department can like a guy. Okay. And the coaching staff may not like the guy as well. So what we did, especially with the Jets, when I was there with Rex, we would always, during the draft meeting, is pair a scout with the position coach. So we're going through the players, and we're going to put those guys in an order where we think we would take those guys. Okay. And if a scout liked a player and a coach didn't like a player, then we're going to sit there and we're going to figure out why, and we're going to figure out the best player with the best fit for what we want. And it's a tedious process, but you usually don't make mistakes that way, because you know exactly what the vision for that player is when he gets in the door. And so now we're stacking. Once we're stacking the board, we stack them in order that we would take them at each position. So once we do that, then the big board we stack, and it's positionless. So we're stacking it by grade numbers. So if this let's just say this linebacker, this is the guy we take, this is the guy we take second, this is the guy we take third. So this guy on the big board is probably he may have a 6'5", this guy may have a 6'4", and you have 2 or 3 other positions at 6'5". But at some point, the draft becomes a need draft. It shifts from being a best available player to a need draft, because now you have to fill those needs. To I need a guard. I can't play. The game is not tomorrow, but I can't line up tomorrow with what we have on the roster. So I need a guard. So at what point where you have that guard slotted is it best for you to take that player?
Yeah. And then the Bears pick right in front of you and they take that guy, right? To the frustration of going, man,
it happens. It happens more than you think, where you think you have a guy and the team in front of you takes him, but you have to get over that quick because now you're on the clock.
Yeah.
now you're on the clock.
Yeah.
You have to go to the next player at the next position. So
yeah, move on. Let's go. You bet, and good teams are able to do that. They, the next
Absolutely.
best guy.
So you always have 2 or 3 players you're going to take. Okay, so if the Bears take this guy, then we're going to take this guy. Okay, so this right hand. Now you may get a call again. Somebody else likes that guy, or somebody else likes another guy. Because they aren't necessarily telling you who they like. So you have to be prepared that they may take the guy that you like, but they may not, and you still may get your guy at you're drafting at 5. You still may get your guy at 9 or 10. But you may not. Those are the chances you take.
And I know you tell nothing but the truth, especially to the press, about these guys, so that the other team doesn't pick them. I know that.
Oh, absolutely. So there's something called 30 visits. So guys come in on 30 visits.
Yeah.
This is prior to the draft. This is prior to draft week. Guys come in, and sometimes the guys you really like, you don't even bring them in on a visit.
Right.
Because you send a coach to see them and talk to them, make sure everything's okay. But because you never want to tip your hand on the guys you like, because I'm good at it and other people are good at it. When you bring guys in, one of the questions you ask is where else have you been? You made any other visits? They say, yeah, I've been to the Cowboys, I've been here, I'm like, okay, well, good. And so you just gauge in the field.
Yep. Yeah, you find out it's all about information as much as you can use to help you and your cause. I put a picture up here. I'm going to put it back up. This is a pregame, I'm imagining, right on the sideline. There's Raleigh.
Yes.
Talk about the relationship aspect of this. The time that you spend not just with Jets or with Raider personnel, but on game day, you get a chance to visit with whatever team that you're visiting with, and you're kind of shaking hands, and you want to beat this guy and he wants to beat you. But there are times where you actually develop friendships or mutual relations with guys that are all in the same business, trying to win, trying to get a Super Bowl trophy in the building. But there are also some really cool people on the other side of the ball that you get a chance to visit with all the time.
Well, as you know, football, first and foremost, is a relationship business, especially professional football, because you have to be able to strike deals with people, and sometimes if it's prior to the draft cutoff, the trade cutoff is you may be able to strike up a deal with something while you're standing there having a conversation about a different player, how he's doing, is he healthy, yada yada yada, those kind of things. But football is one of those sports where you see people, you see people on the road when you're scouting. You see people at league meetings. You see people at scouting meetings. You see people at the combine. So there are always opportunities to see people, your colleagues that you do business with, that you compete against, that you're trying to beat. So they're your enemies on game day, and sometimes you have reason not to like them ever. But you still have to be able to do business with them.
Yeah. Well, and there's others that you shake hands and then he asks about your mom or, how your dog's doing. And you go, hey, this guy's different. I can develop a friendship with this.
Absolutely.
This is my man. Right.
Right. Again, it's a relationship business. You forge those bonds, those relationships.
See if you can confirm this with me. I've heard the other side, Ken Harrock, Ron Wolf, Bill Parcells at the owners meetings or the managers meetings or the whatever meetings that they have, those three are inseparable. And if you try to
that too, but at the combine they always sat together. It was those three and Al Davis. They always sat together by themselves on like the 4th or 5th row, right at the start of the 40-yard line.
And don't you dare interrupt them, right? You don't know what they're talking about. But everyone knew not to do something like that. And
that's correct.
My agent told me years ago, Frank Bauer's my agent. If you know Frank's been in the business a long, long time, a great guy. He helped me in many respects. he tells me this, after my first or second year. I go up to Bill Parcells. I'm with the Bears, and we're playing in Chicago. It's a 4:00 game. Well, the sun is still up. It's about 22 degrees. And then when the sun went down, it went to about 8 below zero. I can't believe it. And you wouldn't have liked it because there was no snow, but it was still cold enough to make you think you weren't there. I know, Joey, there's no way you're going to be there. I'll pass. I'll stay in the hotel. I'll watch it. But I walked up to Bill and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I appreciate and value the fact that you and Herrock and Wolfman are tight in a way like no others. I've heard stories about you, and it has been confirmed by others. And he looked at me as if I was a cow at a new gate. He goes, no one's ever brought that up. But yeah, those are my special guys. Mm-hmm. And I go, I just wanted to say hi. And this is before the game. He goes, hey, when you became a free agent, I nearly picked you. We ended up going with somebody else. And he made my day by just thinking that, hey, somebody wanted me. You know what I mean? But
I'm gonna give you a Bill Parcells story because he's one of the greatly unique people I've ever met. Bill could cuss out a player. He could talk crass to people in the organization. But Bill has a personality that'll make you run through a wall for him. I mean, and he does that with the players. He does that in the meeting. He makes you feel like when you're sitting down having a conversation with him, that you're the only person in the room. And that's a unique character trait for people to have. We can be sitting down in a draft meeting, and he's talking about a player. Now, he can be hard on players. He can be hard on coaches. He can be hard on scouts. But the one thing he believed in is be convicted on your player, on your decision. So he said, I may not like a player, but if you change your mind on a player because I don't like the player, then I don't want you in my room. And he made that abundantly clear to a lot of people. So if you like the player, you stood up for that player. You said why you like the player. And he may talk shit about it, which was fine. But at the end of the day, you gained his respect.
Lord.
When you change your mind because he liked another player, that's when he lost all respect for you.
Wow. Interesting perspective. I've seen enough film that NFL films did of him, the way he was with Lawrence Taylor, the way he would chew out, like you mentioned, Phil Simms in ways that no other human being would ever want to do anything for him. And then Phil learned to fight back a little bit. What are you talking about, Bill? We did this because that guy did something. And it was vulgar, if you want to call it that, but it's just he's a New Jersey guy. He had told that from the beginning. Right. I'm going to be a little tougher than some of these other guys. But if you knew that, you could filter it out. It didn't matter.
It didn't matter, right? And the guys would run through a wall for him. I've seen it firsthand. They run through a wall for him, and you understand why? Because when he talked to you in a personal setting or in a meeting, he made you feel like it could be a room full. He made you feel like you were the only guy in the room.
Yeah.
And that's a unique character trait.
And he'd bring something up about your past. He'd talk about your high school, or he'd say, now you Tennessee guys, right? He would associate with something that was a connection point for you.
Absolutely.
In a manner that other guys, it may not, other guys did it, but he just did it in a very unique way to where it was like, I know about you.
Yes.
I know what you're going. Hey, this ain't Tennessee anymore. You're here in the National Football League. Right. Whatever it was. And whether he was a master or whatever, his Super Bowl wins in New York, his opportunities with Dallas, with you, with New England, he special dude now. He's a special dude.
Yes, he is.
And you got to be with him for a while, so obviously that and who are some of the other guys that you just go, hey, they made my experience and the game better?
I guess, well, in New York, I went through 8 coaches, if you count Belichick for a day, in my 17 years there. But the only other coach, Herm Edwards was a good coach. He was a player's coach kind of guy. But the guy I would say that was more similar to Bill in a lot of different aspects is Rex. And I forged a friendship and bond with Rex Ryan. Rex Rex is a really good coach. Rex has great leadership ability. And, from a defensive perspective, I'm not sure there's a better coach today being able to coach defense than Rex Ryan. I mean, obviously learning from his dad, but Rex is really good. But Rex could communicate with the masses. Okay, he could communicate with offensive guys, defensive guys, special team guys. And usually, I'd always said from what I learned in the NFL that, there's only one coach that touches everybody, and that's a special teams coach. He touches all facets of the football field from a player perspective.
At one point or another, he touches everybody. He taps everybody on the shoulder and says, "This is what I need out of you this week." Right?
Correct. And some of those guys that I'm surprised that more guys that were special teams coach aren't head coaches. So that surprises me a little bit.
Yeah. Some of them, that's not their lane. They just, right. I am good at doing this. I can't do all that other stuff. Let me ask you this too about personnel and people and whatever. And, you've had a lot of great points. I appreciate you doing that. But Al Davis, for example, was a guy that knew everything, right? Now, was Al still alive when you were with the Raiders?
We came in after Al passed. Reggie was the hire after Al passed.
Okay.
And it was a hot mess there. We walked in the door over $50 million over the cap. So it was hell.
Yeah. The smoke was in the building. Everything was hot and it was on fire. And you're not given a hose or any water and go, okay, well, you're welcome. Sit down and enjoy your job, right?
That's correct.
One thing I was going to say, please forgive me. I had a moment where there were 5 things I wanted to ask you. You mentioned Rex. Now, I played for Buddy. Mm-hmm. Buddy was not a great communicator, in my opinion. He was the guy you either loved him or you hated him because my name. Remember the old Bill Cosby thing? I thought my name was Jesus Christ because every time my dad would yell at me, he said Jesus Christ, but I thought my name was dumbass because that's what Buddy called me every now and then. He called everybody that. That's who Buddy was. But Reggie White loved him. Jerome Brown loved him. Keith Jackson loved him. He helped these young professionals keep their profession going and putting them in situations where they were good. But he wasn't but he wouldn't say 5 words to anybody.
Right. Now, Rex is a little bit different from the standpoint. Rex has I don't want to say a photogenic memory, but just like what we were talking about, Rex can do the same thing. He can tell you where this guy went to school, how old he was when he first did this. I mean, and so Rex is able to communicate with everybody.
Yeah. And to Rex's credit, he, in my opinion, isn't the type of guy that goes, well, my dad did this and my dad, he almost wants to separate him. So he and Rob are, no, we and I think Buddy probably encouraged that. You get it on your own merit, not on my coattails.
Yes, I'm sure that was the case. Now, I mean, obviously they're proud of him, but because he gave him the start, obviously. But yeah, there are not many times. He may tell a couple stories about his dad and how they did things, but outside of that, Rex is very confident in his personal football acumen and how he plays defense.
Yeah, and independently of that, right? I don't remember putting a 4-6 together, right? And that's what Buddy was known for. Buddy goes, hey, I got this guy named Fensick, and if we drop him into the box, no one's going to be able to run a down on us and get more than 2 yards. I got too many dogs on my defense. I got studs everywhere you look. Why don't we do that? And whether it be Ditka or just the organization, let's see if you can try it. Let's see what it does. Next thing you know, they're winning Super Bowls, right?
That's right. That's right. Rest is history.
Yeah. And Rex didn't need to do that. And I'm not saying he had to create it, but how many people in the history of the game have created a new defense? Probably 10?
Maybe.
Whatever. All right. Let me ask you this. I want to be respectful of your time. And thank you so much for it, Joey. It's been amazing. No impact players to know. That's going to be a program that the Volunteer Network is putting together. Tell us what your role was with that.
My role will be to introduce the audience to players to know from the opposition, from opposite teams. So like my first week would be the Georgia week. So they're I'm going to introduce them to a left tackle, to a safety, to a wide receiver, and maybe another player. Just guys that can impact the game, and that the Vol should pay attention to, and hopefully the Vol players will pay attention to, because they're good players. But just introduce them to players they may not know or understand the skill set of, or this guy may be a Tennessee guy that's playing in Georgia. I mean, we may know about his high school background, but while he's been at Georgia, he's been a great player.
Well, for the average fan that's watching, that says, okay, well, I know that University of Georgia is good when we get to play them in a couple of weeks, but you're going to say, here's why they're good.
Yes.
You watch out for this this safety. And I'm sure there's probably a center or a tight end or a backup, cornerback that you see that jumps out on film that you may not have time to talk about, but you also recognize. I think that your scouting,
absolutely,
your background is going to be a tremendous asset for the show.
Yes, I look forward to introducing the fans to that. But yes, I hope so.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure for video, there's going to be a certain time that's allotted where there's a play clip of the left tackle making a nice go. But will you also have a little bit of ability? And watch out for number 27. If he's on the field, that dude is a game wrecker, right? Will you be able to?
Well, I have no idea. So this will be the first run of it. So hopefully it will evolve into that. But initially, hopefully, I'm going to talk about some players that is going to be on tape, because I'm not going to be in studio.
Right.
And we'll see how that works.
I think it's a fantastic idea. Go ahead, Vincent, please.
So the Georgia game is going to be your first game.
Yes.
That you're going to be. So I know you got this gentleman from Las Vegas that's playing with Georgia right now, the receiver that transferred from SC, Zachariah Branch. I know he at the top of your list, and I'm going to leave it at that.
He is one of the guys that I'm going to feature. Yes, he is. I mean, he's under, if I remember correctly, he's like 5'10", 180. So,
right.
So he's an undersized guy. But my goodness, he was a playmaker at SC, and I didn't watch the
he had a 60-yard touchdown against Marshall last week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, so Tennessee, I'm sure they already know who this player is. So I'm not worried about the football team knowing who this player is, but I will give background to his what he did at USC before transferring to Georgia with his brother. His brother's already at Georgia, and so that'll be great.
Yes, sir. Back to you, Hawk.
Well, the scouting report, your time as a player, both in the professional and the collegiate ranks, a sprinter in high school that could probably dunk on anybody and high jump and everything else. And it all ties into just a basic love and appreciation for the game of football and a respect for it because of how it has given you a full life of stories and great things that you've been a part of.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Football, I tell people all the time, football is a microcosm of life. It teaches you how to deal with adversity. It teaches you how to deal with people that come from different backgrounds. I mean, you work together as a team, and team means everything. And the old saying that is there's no I in team is true, because a guy you may not like, you know what, those 60 minutes you're gonna fight for that guy because you can see the big picture. You're gonna fight for that guy, and for guys, if you're with your teammate out on the street, you guys are fighting against a frat if that's what happens, So football teaches a lot of life lessons, and that's why it's the greatest sport to play. It teaches things that you can use off the field.
I'm reminded of the Kobe Bryant quote when someone says, Kobe, there's no I in team. And he says, yeah, there is an I in win, mother.
That's right.
So tying that in. But for me, just echoing your thoughts, outside of the military and where you've got live bullets coming at you,
Right.
there's no other way where you depend on somebody else and he depends on you for you to be successful outside of the game of football. I'm glad you got to experience that at the highest level. Vincent, final thoughts here before we go.
Well, like I said, we've had a lot of great guests on our show over the past, I want to say 6 months, and the list is long. But today, I would say maybe in the top 5, one of our greatest shows ever. And when I moved to Knoxville in '85 and Tennessee was going on a great run, it was a band that had a song out. And I listened to this song all day yesterday. Shout, shout, let it all out. Thank you, Mr. Joey Clinkscales. To the University of Tennessee family.
It's been an honor to be here today. I appreciate you guys so much.
Well, Joey, you've got a very unique and incredible story. When the book comes out and then the screenplay for all the wonderful things that you've been a part of and some of the stories that you have told, yet there's a few that you haven't that'll probably make us laugh and make us cry, and just some of the characters of the game and you being around that and a part of it. I value that tremendously. I know you do as well. So we appreciate it. So here on 100 Yards of Football, we just want to say thank you to people like Joey Clinkscale who get a chance to come on a show and tell their story and reveal a part of their life that we think that is interesting, and we hope that you do too. So for Vincent Turner, for Joey himself, I'm Harper LaBelle saying thank you for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate you being a part of the show, and thank you